Thanks, John. Good morning, everybody. We're really glad to have you here. And I'm pleased and honored to introduce Martha Nemesi, the Director of Learning and Style, which is a school that's a ministry of the Sisters of Carondelet. It's right here in the Plymouth Church neighborhood. And the school's mission is empowering adult immigrants through education. Martha has a long history with the Sisters of St. Joseph, beginning in grade school, going through the college part of her education where she earned a degree from St. Catherine University. She's also served on several boards and committees related to the CSJ, and she taught math at Durham Hall High School. Martha came to the US with her family in 1957 as Hungarian refugees. And on a personal note, when I met Martha as I began volunteering at Learning and Style, I commented on her surname because I had only heard that name one time in my life. I was a student at Southwest High School, and the person who sat behind me in homeroom was Steve Nemesi. I learned from Martha that Steve was her late brother. It's such a small world we live in. Though she has worked in software engineering and IT management for a number of years, Martha has always been immersed in education as a teacher, a board member at Risen Christ School, and at the Minneapolis Public Schools Adult Basic Education Advisory Board. This brings us to her leadership at Learning and Style, and I will let her tell you that story. Please welcome Martha Nemesi.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, everyone. And just on a personal note, along with Judy brought up that my family and I arrived to in the United States in 1957. Actually, it was exactly 64 years ago today that the ocean liner so this is a big day, ocean liner docked in New York Harbor that we were on. And may I say, when I woke up, I saw the Statue of Liberty. You know, in movies, they make a big deal of it. It was a big deal. People were, and it wasn't just Hungarians, and it was a huge ocean liner with people from all over coming to the United States. But you could tell the ones who were coming for the first time because they had tears in their eyes. It is a big deal to see that Statue of Liberty. So 64 years today, we stepped on New York shore. But for us, I just, Judy mentioned that I had a long history with the sisters. Yes, grade school, high school, college. But the Sisters of St. Joseph have a long history in this neighborhood, in Whittier, Phillips, and Stevens neighborhood. The St. Stephen's Church, they have staffed that for over 100 years, and have gotten involved and had ministries, various ministries. Hope Community, just across the bridge, was started as a place to safe harbor for women coming in abusive relationships. And then there's Peace House, which was a safe harbor for street people, homeless people, to spend the day in. And they've just grown and grown, but they were both concepts of the sisters, or particular sisters. You know, they don't act as a group, they act as individuals. The first free store, it was started by the Sister of St. Joseph in this neighborhood. And also, every time I drive up on Blaisdell, I realize that the area of Stevens community that's on the west side of 35W is called Slater Square. That's to honor Sister Jackie Slater, who was on the Minneapolis City Council in the 70s and early 80s. Huge champion of affordable housing and saving that neighborhood. So when she died unexpectedly in the mid-80s, they renamed the western half of Stevens Square to Slater Square. So they've long history. LIS, Learning and Style School, was started by three sisters who retired from their various other leadership positions and were looking for just to tutor high school kids in the neighborhood. So they started at St. Stephen's as tutors, and only to find out that women and men, I mean, adults were coming in asking for English lessons. And so it morphed into English tutoring, and then it got real big. So that morphed into regular classes. They outgrew St. Stephen's, and we're at moved to Calvary Baptist Church on 26th and Blaisdell, a wonderful organization. And they were there until they outgrew that in 2009 or 2008. The sisters, the community of Sisters of St. Joseph, bought the building we're in now at 22nd and Nicollet. And it was an old mortuary. They bought it, gutted it, and retooled it to meet the specific needs of learning and style school. So there's a wonderful childcare center downstairs, computer labs, and lots of classrooms for small classes. They have been learning and style school, has been here 27 years. We're starting our 28th year this fall. And it's here in this building since 2009. I arrived in 2015. I had retired from my cushy jobs in IT, and ran into some of the sisters who they don't think retirement's a good thing. So they recruited me to take over. My predecessor was turning 80 and wasn't sure she wanted to continue working at this big job at 80. So they talked me into it as a temporary, and it became permanent very quickly. And may I say, I like to tell people, when I was in IT, and I got lots of awards and accolades. My team and I designed and implemented the database management system that runs all the Best Buy stores. Big deals, but can I just say, this is so much better. I mean, to see the people every single day come through that door, and so grateful for everything that we do for them. And especially now they say the sisters built this school just for us. It's like, oh my gosh, we are important. It's been a blessing. I was going to say 3 years, and now we're going on 6. So what can I say? But our demographics at the school have changed a lot through the years. When we started through the years, over the last 27 years, we've had students from 90 different countries. But as the neighborhood changes, so have the demographics. 20 years ago, it was over half the people were Latinos and some Southeast Asians and a few Somali people. Today, 80% of our students are Somalis from this neighborhood, only 15% Latinos, and another 5% South and Southeast Asians, and 1% from Russia. So it depends on and they are mostly coming from this neighborhood, although we'll take anybody from anywhere if they fit, if their needs fit what we offer, value we add to their lives, then yes, we're open, and there's no fees involved in coming to school here. And mostly it's 90% are women. Our classes are held during the day. And there's another one, I'm just in awe of our students, especially the women, Somali women who have 7, 8, 12 children, who have part-time jobs, and find the time, make the time to come to learn to speak English. And most of them, we ask them, why do you want to learn English? It's for the children, to help the children to deal with the doctors, deal with the school. One of my favorites was a couple of years ago, a woman came in to register, and I said, now, why do you wish to learn English? And she said, I have boy, 15, he lie, I need English. So, it's yes, deal with whatever situation you go is a very honest answer. Good. But it's and to get jobs for whatever, to fit into the community. The one thing that I've learned being here is that it's not just, we teach English at the core, but also have math classes, basic computer skills, and citizenship classes. If for the people who signed up for English, so you can't come and just take citizenship classes, but for the people who are here to speak for English classes. But we do end up dealing with the whole person. I call it, it's like the Americanization, how to survive in America when you come from a totally different culture. And it's not just the language you need, but the cultural, the way you speak, the way you address people, everything is so different that they can be easily offended by an American. So you teach them, no, it's no big deal. And also how to deal with each other in this environment. The structure of the school, normal, this is not a normal year, but normally we have a capacity of 240 students, and our claim to fame is that we have small classes, 10, maybe 11 max in each class. We have 18 full-time staff people, and our life depends on another 45, 50 volunteers who augment in the classroom, in the computer lab, in the children's room, with office work, with everything else. Just a blessing that they're here. It is a real, I hate to use that word, but it's like it's a real school. The student comes and they register, they're tested to see what level they should start at, and are assigned to a particular class, which meets 4 days a week at the same time with the same teacher all year long, or until they advance to the next level. They're also have textbooks and workbooks that they use in the class. And so it's very structured and have to show up. We do have a strict attendance policy, because if you don't, because it's a school, if you miss days even, you have to make up that work with one of the volunteers or somehow catch up, because you can't have people in different ways. And there are schools, and they serve a huge, huge, huge purpose, where you're pretty much function on your own in a room and ask for help. A volunteer comes and helps you, so it's more independent work getting there. And that's yay for people who can go 1 hour one day, 2 hours the next day, half an hour 2 weeks later, whatever. So it's people have to, then they sign an agreement that they will be here 4 days a week, same time, same place, show up. And
Martha,
yes,
may I ask a question?
certainly.
All right. I assume most of your students work. How do how do they manage to go to school and work?
They do work around. So if they work, the truth is most of our students, well, now not so much, but they work in the hospitality industry, and it's a lot of night work, nights, and some of them start late afternoon. We have classes in the morning and afternoon. So if they have work in the morning, they can come to an afternoon class. But usually most of them have these actually horrendous schedules where they work from midnight to 4 a.m. or some very strange, or 40 hours over 3 days over the weekend, because I think employers know that they can take advantage of them, and so they do. They're not going, that's another thing we deal with. You do have rights at work also. You don't have to take that night shift day or weird hours week to week. That changes. But that is part of the learning process. But they do, it's amazing. They show up, and some of them, they work till 7 a.m. and at 9 a.m. they're in the classroom, having gotten their kids on the bus, gotten home, fed them, and put them on the bus, and they come here. Amazing, absolutely amazing people. But especially Somalis Somali women, and Somali people, as we know, have gone through civil war, famine, walked from their homes, were driven from their homes, ended up in Kenya, and somehow ended up here because this is where they were sponsors or could come to. And they're just grateful to be somewhere where they can sleep. Most of these people don't come for economic opportunities. Refugees don't come for that, as my family didn't. We come so that you can sleep through the night, not have to worry about somebody coming at the door and yanking you and taking you off to prison for whatever charge. And that's really that calm that they're after. So we've had seminars in the past in person on everything from nutrition, healthcare, how to deal with your doctor, the students, the teachers at school, legal aid, legal system, how to go through the immigration process, citizenship process. And a big one was we've had advocates for human rights have come in and done seminars and role playing on how to deal with ICE, how to deal with the police when you're accosted, which is a huge, mentioned earlier to John, our students come from society that's top down, and they've lived in fear all their lives, and they're taught to fear government, to anybody above them. So they do not argue with doctors, lawyers, teachers, police. They're all in one category above them somewhere. So coming here and learning they have rights is a long process. Feeling comfortable with, yes, you go to the doctor, you can ask, you can demand to see your chart. When you can get a different lawyer if one isn't working for you. You don't have to show everything there. You don't have to go with that police on the street. You can, if you ask if they're arresting you, if they're not, which they're not, unless they say yes, when I ask for a warrant. But asking those, it's a long process. But it's necessary to live a life, and their kids are getting used to that, so that's good. Ends up being kind of a role reversal. The kids are much more at ease, and the parents have to recognize that that's good, that they're at ease, that they're not going to be the obedient to the whoever is in power at the time. So along with we've also built community relationships, and we're hoping to do that with Plymouth Congregational Church. But through the years, few years, we've have strong relationship with Blake School and with the Whittier community and the Whittier Business Association, which I joined when I took this job. I joined the Business Association, the Alliance, became involved, and that has been very fruitful because they get jobs for our students. They've been offered jobs at the local restaurant, and very flexible jobs. We've come to the point where last year, Black Forest, Bad Waitress, a couple others would just call me and say, I need a dishwasher for weekends. Just send me, I don't care if it's 5 people each work 2 hours at a time or one person, whatever you decide, and send me the people. So there's a huge trust issue that is, relationship that has come up, and that is just so helpful in building. In Blake School, I use, we build relationships so holistically. Our relationship with Blake started with, I got a phone call 3 years ago from this girl saying, hi, my name is Michaela, and my friend and I go to Blake, and we're gonna do our senior project on talking to some immigrants. And so I looked on the web and saw that you have those people. So we want to come and talk to them, and then we'll write a story, and then we'll have a big party, and we'll invite all of you. Okay. I said, no, but you can come and talk to me. So they did. So they came and talked, and we worked through it. That made them do a project plan, sell me on it, sell the staff. And then we got people for them to talk to. Amazing product they put together. And there was a big party where they made their presentation. But the result of it was I built a relationship with the deans, with their outreach officer, with the parents. Both sets of mothers now volunteer at Learning in Style. They've become part of the community, and our relationship with Blake has exploded to the point where they come here. The students come here for their service day. Younger ones also, if they're discussing an appropriate topic, war or immigration, that we can help, then they come and we have small group discussions. I go talk to the classes about community service, and also they have just been huge supporters of us. So especially as all this, our wonderful situation came to a screech halt in March. If you remember, that's where we got actually trying to figure out what to do with COVID, and the Minneapolis Public School was going small groups, this group, and we're at the advisory group, and nobody could decide what. So I came back and said, okay, everybody go home. We're just going to just go home. We're not taking any chances here. So sent everybody home, gave the teachers, gave them a day. The teachers put together, we're learning packets. We didn't have Zoom. We didn't have any technology to work with. So they just stepped up to the plate. They used snail mail, email, phone calls on one-on-one, sent things home, and went through packets, whatever but they just did a wonderful job. And really between the middle of March and the end of May, they logged 4,000 hours. Our students logged 4,000 hours of, so they worked not just 4 days a week for an hour and a half, but really weekends, evenings, whenever our teachers were on the phone on one-on-one. So that was great. Then, of course, at the end of the year, we had the George Floyd incident, which made life even more difficult for our students because most of them live along Lake Street on the corridor. So they could look out their apartment windows and see their bank going up in flames, their grocery store, gas station, their post office, being in the police department, all being destroyed. Huge. I get phone calls from students like, what do I do? There's fighting, and you'd have to say, okay, go to the middle of and this has brought back my early childhood experience. Like, they turn the lights off in the front of the apartment, go to the middle of and lock all your doors and just stay there. That's your best bet. And if it gets really horrible, go to the basement. But really, that's the best I could do. And there was a great deal of fear. So by July, it became obvious that nobody could agree. The governor and the health department and Minneapolis Public Schools could not agree on what to do about the school in the fall. And first I planned for hybrid things, thought that they could come in small groups 2 days a week and work at home 2 days a week. And then realized, well, we'd still have 240 people traipsing through the building in small groups, but still very dangerous. So I just decided, at one point I thought, I'm just going to close school for the year. That's it. Everybody go home and stay safe. We'll open again in 2020. But our students started calling with, oh, are you there? I come. I need English. I come. Are you there? Are you there? And so I decided that, we're not a profit center. Whoever we can serve, we're going to serve. If it's 7 people, we'll serve 7 people. It just doesn't matter. We'll do our best to serve whoever, but it's going to be distance learning. So at that point, I said the easiest thing to do is schedule the regular classes, but do everything by Zoom. So we had the teachers come in August, be trained on Zoom because, our teachers, half of them are in their 70s. So this is quite a new experience for them, and how to use breakout rooms and get your material up on the screen. And just all those were brand new to them. So we had the teachers taught, we did training sessions in August for them. Luckily, we had 2 interns, young people one from St. Paul Seminary and one from St. Kate's, who were quite adept at technology, so they could help, young people, help train our teachers. And then what we did was asked our students, whoever was coming back, called them, and during September, scheduled 1 and 2 or 3 people at a time to come in and to be trained on Zoom, and also see if they had devices. If they didn't, we could do something about it. Now, those people who have children in the Minneapolis Public Schools were given a device, laptop, desktop, and they have access to the internet. So that was good, except for where they had 7 children in the public school system and they were never going to get to that laptop or desktop. So I went out and bought 30 laptops. And I got donations, a couple of my pals. I go to the Basilica, so I just called on a couple of my Basilica pals and me. We all donated a couple $1,000s and bought 30 cheap ones. But this is my IT background came in handy. They were Windows 10S, some proprietary, which is why they were on sale because nobody would buy them. So I just redid the operating system to a regular, retooled it, and then went on to retool from Windows 10 to Chrome. So now they're Chromebooks for the price of a Windows 10S book. And so from the beginning of October, we have been doing it online or by Zoom, although we're at half-mast. No, we don't have 240, we only have 120, 125 people in classes because we're keeping the classes small. Even on Zoom, you can't have 11 people and on the screen. And so the teachers are a great deal of flexibility. We said, do the best you can. And if you can only keep them in for 45 minutes at a time, or split the class, or an hour, or you do the best you can where they don't fall asleep or go away or have their children come and sit on their laps or whatever. And it's worked really well. We still have people coming in to register in person, and we do our testing in person. We have plexiglass dividers everywhere, and face shields and face masks and sanitizers, doing everything we can, temperature checks for anybody who comes through the door, doing our best. But we are registering people and testing them still to see where they belong. And then they come back and get trained on Zoom, being part of the class. And if they need a laptop, we still have a few of the 30 left, but also we're getting donations from people. Now, of course, I just actually just learned this brand new thing that I did not realize, or a program that I did not realize. There was the Minneapolis, or Hennepin County has a program to provide people with laptops, people who are in school, education, or looking for jobs, or old people. So that's pretty much takes care of all our whole student body. And so we've sent out the application form to all the teachers and to explain to the students. And then as they come in to apply to get a laptop, we apply as a group so that they know it's a legit business net. And then they're returning those laptops to be used by other people. We also have a computer lab that's still operational downstairs, where people who just, the ones with 7 children need to get away. They can come into the computer lab and join their class by Zoom with one of our computers in the lab.
Okay.
Yes.
On that subject, we have a question.
Yes.
Tom Anderson says, I tutor at Whittier and have many Somali children in my class. Do students who have English-speaking parents do better at school?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and it's a quandary about what language you speak at home. Do they speak Somali at home, or do they speak English? And many of our teachers think, well, they should just start speaking English at home. And then you go, yeah, that's a tough one. It's your second language. It'd be like, you and your mom both learn to speak French. Are you going to start speaking French at home instead of your native language? Well, you're not going to. It's plus it's important to the parents to instill that the culture and the language. So it's a tough one. But yes, parents, if the parents speak English, of course, it's they do better at student. They get the information right at the student teacher conferences. They can help with homework. They have many things. And I want to say, we never spoke English at home when I was growing up. It'd be unless we had guests. I always spoke Hungarian to my mother until the day she died, unless there were English speaking people there, because it would seem very unnatural for me to speak Hungarian to her. But of course we spoke English everywhere else with our friends, and if there were neighborhoods and schools. So we seem to do okay with English and with the Hungarian. And being bilingual, I think, is the greatest gift you can give your children. So to say, stop speaking your native language and start speaking English, back in the olden days, I worked with people parents were German and spoke German only behind closed doors and made everybody spoke English, and they don't speak German now. And it's a huge loss. Now I say, why did they not teach me to speak German? So it's a yin yang. I'm not sure which way, to go or what we do here. But the other big thing that we've had, that's a big selling point for us, of course, is childcare. And we have an early childhood specialist who's in charge of the program. So it's not just daycare, but she has regular programs. We can only take 13 children at a time, but there are regular programs for reading nooks and playing and doing craft projects and enriching projects, all kinds of fun things, dancing and singing. So they're you know, usually when a child comes for the first time, they'll be crying on their way down to, and then after that they cry on their way home. They just really don't want to go. There have been some kid will be come up in tears. I say, oh, did you want to go back downstairs? Yes. And it's like, I don't want to go home. I want to just stay there. And that's a huge boon. Also, it's preschool education for those kids, getting a head start in and learning to get along with kids from different cultures. You know, there's a picture that we've posted of 3 little boys, best chums. They're just great. One is from Somalia, one is from Mexico, and one is Southeast Asian. And they don't speak the same language, but they don't care. They understand each other and they're best buddies. So as they go on, they'll learn to speak this. They're learning English, learn a few words from each other and cultural things. But I just love it. It's that we're all buddies. It's not I'm from here, you're from there, and we stay in our own little enclave. The Somalis do tend to stay in their own neighborhoods with their own malls. And I think it's the children who will expand their horizon and get their parents out. I know for us, we were growing up, my friends' parents became my parents' friends. I mean, they made friends at work, but really mostly they met my friends, school friends, Girl Scout friends, their parents, and they became friends with them. So through your children, you become part of the larger community, I think.
Martha?
Yes.
Myra Starkenberg would like to ask a question. Myra, I'm clicking on allow to talk. I don't know if that unmutes you, so you may have to unmute yourself as well. Go ahead, Myra.
Yeah, actually, I accidentally clicked the hand up. Sorry.
Okay. All right, thanks. Martha, we have another question. Hey, would like to know what kind of tutoring opportunities do you have available for volunteers? And then in parentheses, it says post-COVID.
Oh, post-COVID, hopefully we'll be back in September. And then as teachers' aides, and then to one-on-one with some person who has missed a week to bring them up to speed, help with testing, extra tutoring. Some people need just vocabulary, others need speech, just to have conversation or math. So there's tons and tons. And also in the children's room, that's a great fun opportunity. So yes, we have many opportunities for tutoring and early childhood, whichever way you want to go. But I know Judy has certainly she's done tutoring one-on-one with people who needed extra help. Because as we know, in any educational environment, their students are different. They're not going to be at the exact same spot. So to bring up those people who are trailing in pronunciation, and that's a big one. But if I had unlimited amount of money, I'd hire a speech therapist, because it's use a different part of your tongue, a different way of speaking. So it's not just try hard enough to pronounce this word, but it's not going to come out unless somebody helps you use your tongue in a different manner that you're totally used to using. And I'm looking for some volunteer and somebody I may have known in a previous life who's old and could you be a speech therapist here to help us through that, because it's a very important part of speaking. I was helping one of our students as a child in preschool. In a school, they're having problems. So I got actually the principal of the school called me to get involved because they could not understand her. Now, the mom, I understand her, but they did not. And I realized once you're with a person, keep conversation going, you understand each other. But when it's brand new, then it takes a while to catch on to what they're saying. And school people didn't have the patience to do that, or I'm sure they're dealing with many, many people. I shouldn't say that, but it's very important that pronunciation as close as you can, especially Southeast Asians. We have a student from Vietnam who's been here for years and years, and she thinks we understand everything she says, and we really don't. So, because she's still using just because her tongue goes in a different direction, and it's a tough one. But the other things I wanted to cover is our funding, and we're funded. We get money from state and feds, per student hour, so that's good. We have a foundation, the CSJ Ministries Foundation, that raises money for us, and we do get private donations. And then the Sisters of St. Joseph pick up the rest of the tab. They pay for the building, they paid for the build, but all the maintenance, upkeep, the utilities, grounds maintenance, and cleaning of the inside, outside. That's a huge, 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 huge boon to us that we don't have to worry about and pay the insurance on the building even. And it's amazing. Without that, I think we'd be dead in the water. And we'd be back in somebody's basement. So that's a huge thing. And certainly we're encouraging other people. But the other thing that happened, and I want to touch on this before we end, is once we closed the school and sent home, the first thing that came to my mind is these moms are going to be home with their 7 children. They have to feed them all day long. So in my mind, thinking we need snack items. So the garage had been used as a clothes closet. They closed because it was dangerous, COVID-wise, to have strangers come in there. Emptied out the place, and I just put out the word, do we need snack items too? But then the students taught me an important lesson. They came in and say, what about rice and oil and tomatoes and all those, and then the cleaning supplies? And I went, oh my gosh, of course, you know, they don't care about snacks. They need, these kids are at home, they need 3 pounds of rice a day. And so we retooled that. And there again, Blake, at the very same time as I was trying to figure out what to do with this, Blake, the head of school, called and said, we'd like to do something in that neighborhood with everything that's going on with George Floyd, with the COVID, blah, blah. Can you think of anything, how we can help? I said, oh my gosh, good timing, bring me food. So they've had several huge food drives, competition among all the different campuses. So and their students have come to staff the food shelf. It's been wonderful, and they come to also have tutoring online there. So we're expanding, and I do a lot of shopping on weekends. What we found is, and this is where we'd love to partner with you, because, you know, we could be just a household supply store, rice and oil in big terms, but paper products, diapers, cleaning supplies, laundry soap, toothpaste, all those things, don't realize how expensive they are. Extra toothbrushes, all those things. So I look at our canned goods section and I think, you know, if they could go somewhere else for canned goods, I'd love to have just giant supply of, because we have to limit now. You can only take 1 roll of toilet paper, 1 roll of paper towels, only 3 diapers at a time, which, you know, works for 3 hours in a usual family. And by the way, I don't know how people can afford to have children. Once I started buying diapers, my gosh, they're outrageous. It's whoa. And if you look at it, when they have 4 kids in diapers, you go, oh my gosh, how do you do this? It's mind-boggling. So we could just have a diaper store. But it's, and they do, I think what's great is that they do tell me what they need. And so we're not going to keep stocking things that are extras, but when we need. And the big lesson that has taught me is that we're morphing into, next year we come back and morphing along the school. I'd like to have it morph into more of a community center also, where they can come for other services that we had short seminars on, but have connections to legal aid, to Somali support system for women, to Latino support system, have people come in, help with jobs, help with resumes, and be a full service community center. Yes, teach English, yes, help with citizenship. And that's a big deal. We have huge celebrations every time somebody passes their citizenship test. And yes, another one. I was saying, go get your passport. There you go. Now you have an American passport. Yay. So we hopefully, and I don't have it real clear in my head, but that's the future, I think. And now with immigrants, or immigration situation and refugees, the quota is being taken off. I think we'll have another surge of immigrants, probably from Syria. No one's talked about all those displaced people from Syria. Who knows where they are, hiding out somewhere where will probably be coming.
Martha, another question.
Okay.
Your talk was titled empowering adult immigrants through education. Do you have a success story that maybe you could share with us? One of your students who
A couple,
has
let me,
been empowered?
yes, I will. As a matter of fact, just talked to this man who came about, I think he came 10, 15 years ago. I can't remember, a long time ago, but he had just come from Togo, had a bike, got a room somewhere, and came to learn English. And once he learned English enough, he started volunteering in security because he couldn't get a job. But then he went through police academy. He's a police officer. He signed up for the military. He's in Washington guarding the inauguration as part of the National Guard, does that, and he does security. He's gotten married now. His wife is a student, and they have 2 small children who are going through our preschool, our program. And yes, his English is very good. And yes, another one is a couple who came also for English, and they came from Brazil. She had been a chef in Brazil, and I don't know, we don't ask why, how they can't come, but she now owns a catering firm and caters, and the private catering firm. People start their own businesses and get better jobs. We're trying to talk people into getting jobs in IT. You can be a data security person, doesn't take much education, start there, but I'm telling you, once you're in a company and you show up for work and do a good job, they'll train you to do other things. It's a huge future. You don't have to be a cleaning person in the hotel for the rest of your life. And that means a lot to your children too, if you have a better job. So yes, those are really great. Sometimes, well, one of our Somali students came back. She had been here 5 years ago. She has started a help center for Somali people in the neighborhood, just a few blocks down. Now she gives tutoring help to kids, high school kids, and meeting space for Somalis to get together, to pray, to exchange recipes, to whatever. And so yes, they go on to live better lives. And the citizens are huge.
Okay. We have a final comment here. It's not a question, but a thought. Could a partnership be made with Groville and Food Shelf to achieve her hope? They are focused on food and necessarily less so on paper goods. These 2 organizations could work together to best serve the community, especially as close as we are to each other. So maybe
Absolutely.
have a Groveland person get in touch with you. And
yes, please. I would love that.
Okay.
Absolutely love that. And since you're close and we're partners, one of the problems we've had with our students is they're hesitant to go to some of the other food shelves where they keep track of you, and you can only go once a month or whatever, and have to sign how many people are in your family, and you can get just so much. And we don't ask any questions. You come in, you take what you need, and there's a safety in that also. And we trust I know, and we learned this a long time ago from the pastor at Basilica. Yes, 5-10% of the people are going to cheat and lie, but you know what? That's the cost of doing business. You're not going to make life really difficult for the other 90% just to save those few people from cheating. So yeah, who cares? Cost of doing business. And I've
Unless you're in charge of voting fraud.
Right. Well, yes. We try not to encourage that.
I know. Martha, we need to cut it off here. I just want to say thank you so much. Let you know that we have a total of 34 people attending today. And so imagine yourself getting applause from a warm audience of 34. Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I've just enjoyed it myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a couple of announcements for next week. We actually have 2 Sunday forums coming up next week. At the 9:30 hour, we have We Are the Story quilt exhibit presented in collaboration with the gallery committee. So this is actually something that you go online and look at on the Plymouth website. You can get there if you go to the Plymouth website and then click on Explore and go down to Sunday Forum. There's an option to attend that event. And then at 12:30, we have a Plymouth Film Club joint sponsored between Plymouth Film Club and the Sunday Forum Group. And it's a film called The River and the Wall about the primarily the Texas border, Texas-Mexican border, and what's happening with wall construction, and hopefully will now stop happening with wall construction down there. But it's an absolutely beautiful film, and it brings together some very interesting people from an environmental standpoint, from an immigrant rights standpoint, to talk about what's going on the border down there. This one's a little more complicated to access. The easiest way I found to get there is you go to the Plymouth website and click on search, and then type in Film Club, and it'll be the first item to come up. The request is that you actually view the film before you come to the discussion, which will be at 12:30 next Sunday. And so there are a number of ways listed there that you can access the film. I actually happen to have a copy from the library and would be willing to sub-loan it, but you have to promise to get it back to me. I don't want to run afoul of the Hennepin County Library System again, so I would appreciate it if you'd be sure to get it back to me if you do borrow it. But at any rate, there are a number of other ways you can rent it, and there are a variety of ways that you can watch it before the discussion at 12:30 next Sunday. So excellent events coming up. And again, thank you, Martha. Wonderful presentation this morning. Thank you for your good work.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been an honor. Hope that this opens the door and we'll have many partnerships.
Great.